Welcome to the podcast Nicaea at 1700, a podcast commemorating the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea, the first ecumenical council of the Christian Church. My name is Jim Skedros, and I am the Michael G. and Anastasia Kantonis Professor of Byzantine Studies and Professor of Early Christianity at Holy Cross Greek Orthodox School of Theology in Brookline, Massachusetts, and I am the host of this podcast. This podcast is a production of the Scriptorium initiative at Holy Cross. The various episodes of the podcast bring the insights of Orthodox scholars and theologians regarding the history, theology, and impact of the First Ecumenical Council, which gathered in the city of Nicaea during the summer of 325 AD. In this opening welcome and first episode, the question that I want to address is why Nicaea? Why study Nicaea at all? The simple answer, and the quick answer obviously, is, well, it's the 1700th anniversary. The council was held in the year 325 AD, and it's 1700 years, and in order to commemorate it, we are providing a podcast. That's the simple answer. The more important answer really is, why study the Council of Nicaea at all? What is its impact? What is its import? What did it say? What did it do? Most of the listeners will have a sense of Nicaea, that it was an ecumenical council, that it was the first great gathering of bishops of the Christian church. And this is all true. But what actually took place at Nicaea? Most of us are familiar with the creed that was established at Nicaea, or promulgated at Nicaea in 325. But what did that creed say? Is it the same creed that Orthodox Christians and other Christians recite today, often called the Nicene Creed, but actually the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed? One of our episodes will address that. Many of our episodes will address the actual theology associated at Nicaea, and the content of that theology is articulated in the creed promulgated at Nicaea and the subsequent creed, Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed, that most of us are familiar with that are listening to this podcast. But there are lots of important reasons why one should spend some time learning about Nicaea. Perhaps the most significant is just the historical context in which Nicaea takes place. It's the Emperor Constantine who has just finished a significant civil war, and that ends in basically 324, shortly prior to the calling of the council in 325. And this civil war provided Constantine with leadership over the Roman Empire. He is the sole emperor. And he had established himself at Rome from 312 onwards. But he will continue the civil war and move further east. And by the time he defeats Licinius in 324 AD, he can now claim jurisdiction, rulership over the entire Roman Empire. But we also have a Christian church whose reality has changed radically. It's just been 14 years or so since Christianity was legalized in the Roman Empire. The last great persecution under the Emperor Diocletian has come to a close in 311, but now it is legal for Christians to practice their faith. It wasn't legal to be a Christian prior to 311, and then again in 313 AD. So Christianity has a new relationship with the state, a relationship that it hadn't had prior to 311 AD. The Council of Nicaea is without doubt the largest gathering of Christian leaders in the history of the Christian church. The traditional number of bishops that attend the council is 318. Scholars tend to bring that number a bit down and say anywhere from 200 to 250 bishops attended. And this could be possible. The number 318 could be possible as well. The main reason that we don't know for sure is that although there are lists of bishops who signed the decrees of Nicaea, we don't have the actual recordings or what we call the acta of the council. So we don't have the specific sort of recordings, the writing down, if you will, the taking of minutes, if you will, of the council. So we don't know for sure how many bishops signed. But this is a significant gathering in the city of Nicaea undertaken by the Emperor Constantine. What's even more significant is that Constantine, although he clearly has had an experience of the Christian God, has not been baptized yet, even though later traditions will say that he gets baptized in Rome by Pope Sylvester. That's not the case. He is only baptized on his deathbed in 337 in the city of Nicomedia. But nonetheless, Constantine sees himself as someone who has been called by the Christian God to oversee or at least to help the church establish itself. Now, this may seem contradictory in the sense that the state is getting involved in the life of the church, but we shouldn't see it that way. Ancient and medieval and late antique societies, the state and religion are really related to one another. And the role of the leader of the state is to maintain the blessings, the divine success that the gods will grant upon a given society. And Roman emperors are no different than other leaders. That is to say, Roman emperors prior to Constantine will support paganism because the gods are looking over the empire. And so now Constantine has a new god in perhaps a pantheon of gods. It's hard to say what he ultimately believed, but nonetheless he feels a calling of the Christian God. And so therefore his involvement in the life of the church is not what people will call Caesaropapism, is not the interference of the state into the church. That has been debunked. It used to be argued that. It's not the case anymore. He's doing what any ruler in a late antique society or in the ancient world would have done, and that is made sure that the god that is bringing success, or the gods that are bringing success to the empire, are maintained and are taken care of, i.e. the Christian church needs to be supported. And this is what Constantine does. He will become a Christian on his deathbed, and that will sort of solidify his commitment to his Christianity. It's hard to say what his commitment is in his heart at this time. We will never ultimately know. But let's go back to the gathering here at Nicaea. This is a remarkable gathering. Let's assume that there are 250, 300 bishops that attend. Each bishop has been invited by the empire, by Constantine. They have received an official letter that grants them free travel from wherever they are. Not only the bishop that travels, but the bishop is going to travel alone. He's going to travel probably with a deacon. We know Bishop from Alexandria, Alexander, traveled with his deacon, Athanasius, who will become the great bishop of Alexandria in 328. Athanasius attends the Council of Nicaea in 325 as a deacon in support of his bishop, Alexander. Let's assume that each bishop that attended the council brought with him 4 or 5 attendants. And if there are 250, 300 bishops at the council, or if even the number 318, and then add 4 to each bishop, we're talking over 1,000 people that have traveled to Nicaea to attend this council. Add to that the imperial presence and all the officials that are there to support the council, and also other individuals that would show up for the council as well. We are told stories later on that there are many other folks at the council as well. It wouldn't be surprising to suggest that the council brought somewhere close to 2,000 people involved in various ways with the council. And it would have included a setup prior to the council, as well as maintaining these people that are attending, these bishops and their attendees that are attending the council. And the council will last for probably a month. We don't have specific dates for the council, but it's being called for the summer of 325. The council probably meets sometime towards the end of June, early July, opens then and closes sometime towards the end of July, early August. Why else study Nicaea? Well, Nicaea is not only known for what it did, and we'll talk about in a minute, but it's also known for people who attended. There are stories, we can't confirm them historically, but there are stories that are told about a century after the council that place St. Nicholas, Bishop of Myra, at the council, and St. Spiridon, bishop there from Trimithus, at the council as well. But if we fast forward a little over 1,000 years, Martin Luther, the great Protestant reformer of the 16th century, argued that the Council of Nicaea is evidence for the church coming together without the claim of the universal jurisdiction of the Pope. For Martin Luther, he lifts up Nicaea as an example of how the church comes together in council to make decisions without the Pope standing there and saying, do this, this, and this. It is true the Pope did not attend the council at Nicaea. He did send 2 representatives who will sign in his name. John Calvin, the other great reformer of the 16th century, he says that Nicaea is a true council since it, quote, affirmed the biblical concept of the divinity of Jesus, close quote. For the 2 reformers, Nicaea is a watershed moment in the history of the church. And this continues to be the case, not only in the 4th century, but now down to the 21st century. 2 examples from the beginning of the 21st century reflect how Nicaea can still be, and Constantine perhaps even more so, is still in the thought world of people thinking about the history and development of Christianity. In 2003, the author Dan Brown published his book, The Da Vinci Code, a very popular book turned into a movie. And he makes some quite inaccurate claims about the Council of Nicaea, most egregious being that Constantine invented the divinity of Jesus and forced the bishops at the Council of Nicaea to agree with him. It's patently wrong. Constantine didn't invent the idea or the divinity of Jesus. Jesus being divine is something that goes quite earlier than the 4th century. It's debated at the council, and we'll spend several episodes on that specific issue. It's one of the key issues of the council, without a doubt. It's the key issue that Jesus himself had asked. Who do people say that I am? And so, yes, this is debated. It's debated even down to the 21st century. Who is Jesus Christ? Who is he individually for each believer? But who is he historically? What is his theological import, etc.? But Constantine didn't invent this. And then in 2002, the writer James Carroll published another popular book entitled Constantine's Sword, The Church and the Jews, A History. And in the book, he wrongly claims that the Council of Nicaea determined the content of the New Testament. Again, it's a falsehood. We'll have an episode on the canon of Scripture, that is the content of the New Testament, to talk about this. There is no evidence at all that supports the idea that at Nicaea, and Constantine is behind this somehow, that some heavy-handed decision was made at the Council of Nicaea to accept just these 27 books, or the 27 books of the New Testament, throwing out all other books. It did not happen at Nicaea. There are 4 main issues that happened at Nicaea, and these will get unpacked as we pursue them in various ways throughout the various episodes of this podcast. The 4 main issues are, first, Arius, a presbyter from Alexandria who was teaching and supporting the idea, and he had a lot of support for this, that Jesus, yes, an important individual, yes, you can call him the Son of God, but what you can't say is that he's always existed prior to the existence of the creation of the world. In other words, what Arius is trying to say is, yes, you can say Jesus is an exalted person. He's above the prophets, but he's not the same as God because only God can be unoriginate. And this is fundamentally what prompts the council. So that's one issue. Who do people say that I am? How do Christians define who Jesus Christ is? And one of the most significant outcomes of Nicaea is a declaratory creed, almost a catechetical creed, that comes from Nicaea, the Nicene Creed, as we call it. Although the Nicene Creed that most Christians know today and that Orthodox Christians recite at every divine liturgy is not specifically the Nicene Creed of 325, but that creed added to, most likely, in the Council of 381 in Constantinople. But we'll have an episode dedicated to that question. But the Nicene Creed, that definition of faith that comes out of Nicaea at the Council of Nicaea in 325, is perhaps the most significant contribution of the Council. The other issue, a second issue, of the Council is the date of Easter. To come up with a common date of Easter, and an episode will be dedicated to that. There are two other issues as well. A third issue are the canons. There are 20 canons or jurisdictional administrative decisions that are reached at Nicaea that will be utilized by the Christian church moving forward. And we have an episode on those 20 canons. And then there were some additional issues as well, one dealing with the Meletian schism and others dealing with other individuals that would show up at the council, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about those in another episode. The Council of Nicaea is without a doubt a watershed moment in the history of Christianity. Christianity is coming off of a major persecution. It is now not only legal to be a Christian, but now when one sends, as one would do in the Greco-Roman world in the imperial Roman period, if you send petitions to the emperor would address them. But now that Christianity is legal, Christian citizens in the empire have legal status for their religion, the emperor is going to respond to these petitions. And so therefore the involvement of the emperor shouldn't be that surprising. We need to be careful, because when we look back at Constantine's role at Nicaea, that we're not reading back to it from our church separation from state position. That is, this post-Enlightenment, post-French and American revolutions, where church and state need to be separate, at least in theory. The Council of Nicaea is certainly a watershed moment in the history of Christianity and in the history of the Orthodox Church. And I hope you will join me in the coming episodes to learn more about the Council of Nicaea, what it did, what it didn't do, and its important legacy for Christian identity. A special thank you to the St. Romanos the Melodist Choir of Helena College and Holy Cross Greek Orthodox School of Theology for their rendition of the Apolitikion of the Elevation of the Holy Cross. The artistic director of the choir is Reverend Dr. Romanos Karanis.